Let's talk about the birds and the bees. Washington lawmakers want comprehensive sex ed to start in kindergarten. So just how comprehensive are we talking? And the push to make sure Oregonians don't do anything for themselves continues. First, it was gas pumps. Now, self-checkout lines could be next. And keeping Portland weird tonight with some brutally honest truth in advertising. Oh, and in case you haven't noticed, we started a new show. Here's the story.
Well, here we go. Hi, I'm Dan Haggerty. How'd you like the music? Welcome to the very first episode of The Story with me, Dan Haggerty. Don't worry, you are in the right place. This is still KGW. We have all the stuff you know and love, all the important news that you need, all the fun things you like to share online. We just hope that you might find this a little more authentic, maybe a little more engaging, hopefully very different. You could probably get a sense of that already. You can reach out to us anytime at the show. Just use the hashtag HeyDan. We love to hear from you. You might even become part of the story. So let's get started right now. What better way to start our very first show than talking about sex? Because lawmakers in Washington are getting really close to passing a law that would require sex education starting in kindergarten. I'll be honest, when I first heard comprehensive sex ed in kindergarten in the same sentence, I had probably some of the same questions you're wondering about right now. So we took those questions to lawmakers sponsoring this bill, hoping to get some answers. Now, the bill just passed the Washington Senate. It will require every school district in Washington to teach common sex ed curriculum. That curriculum would be evidence-informed, medically and scientifically accurate, age-appropriate, and inclusive for all students, that kind of stuff. Senate Bill 5395 just passed the Washington State Senate. It's working its way through the State House right now. So when these lawmakers say age appropriate, what exactly does that mean when it comes to kindergartners? Well, they say that 5-year-olds aren't exactly going to be learning about sex, but they will learn about things like sexual abuse, inappropriate touching, and body parts. That brings us to now our quote of the day from Washington Democrat Manka Dhingra, who is supporting this Senate Bill 5395. She says our bodies are not taboo. Democrats basically saying sex ed is not about just sex, it's about safety. Republicans completely agree. Well, just kidding, not all of them. Some couldn't disagree more.
I think it will happen. I think there'll be a lot of people that will leave the public school system rather than have these sort of values which go against, on some occasions, their deeply held beliefs and morals, and they're going to say it's not worth it.
The comprehensive part of comprehensive sex ed wouldn't begin until the 6th grade. That's the sex stuff.
All right, Washingtonians, your 5-year-old kindergartner could be learning sex ed as early as next year. So how did we get here? Well, right now, the only thing school districts absolutely need to teach about is HIV and AIDS. That's it. From there, districts can come up with their own plan. Seattle, for example, teaches what's called the FLASH curriculum. It's more progressive. They get into the usual stuff like abstinence, STDs, teen pregnancy, and so on. But they also talk about sexual violence, consent, and LGBTQ and gender identity. Then, on the flip side, you got districts like Battleground that only teaches the minimum, HIV and AIDS. Even last year when the district thought about implementing FLASH, like in Seattle, it split the community. One side saying sex ed keeps kids healthy, the other worried it would encourage sex.
We can't assume that all children are out having sex, especially not at the ages that they would like to push this curriculum.
In the end, Battleground shot down FLASH. So what's happening now? Well, the argument in small-town Battleground is playing out at a state level, and that's how we got here.
Now it is time for our big story tonight. It has been almost 3 years since the deadly Max train stabbings, and tonight the jury that will decide the fate of Jeremy Christian has been decided. Tomorrow, his trial will begin. His most serious charges, 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 of attempted murder. We have a team covering this case for you right here at KGW. Maggie Vespa is on it for us, and tonight we wanted her to answer the question simply, who is Jeremy Christian?
I was scared.
Say what?
I was so scared.
The Max stabbings of May 26, 2017 changed Portland. 2 people died. A third was hurt, but survived.
There was help that was needed, and I tried to help.
Headlines about white supremacy and mass violence shoved a grieving city into a global spotlight.
You all stand together, and you stand tight, and you be vigilant. Free speech or die, Portland. You got no safe place. Liar. You're not the only black person on Max. Liar.
I'm the news. I'm the news. You want the real news?
Why'd you try to go in there then?
Because they invited me in.
And the man at the center of it all rarely shied away from that spotlight.
I'm a white supremacist. Why'd I vote for Bernie Sanders?
His name is Jeremy Christian, and this is the mugshot police sent out the morning after the attack. At that time, the Portland native was 35 years old, had already served time in prison for robbery, and according to a psychological evaluation requested by his attorneys, he had never lived on his own or held down a job for more than a few weeks. Christian's last known address, in fact, was his parents' house in North Portland. The morning after the stabbings, a photographer and I went there. No one answered when we knocked.
Revolution, you're not revolutionary. You got your face covered.
Christian, according to the evaluation, had become obsessed with the right to free speech. It was one of several things he yelled about at a protest weeks before the attack.
This is my soapbox. Portland, Oregon, the Northwest.
This protest in Southeast Portland was meant to replace the 82nd Avenue of Roses parade. It had been canceled that year over rumors that Nazis planned to march with reps for the Republican Party.
None of us out here are Nazis.
People on both sides of the aisle showed, and they all distanced themselves from Christian because of this rant.
I'm a revolutionary. We brought all the Semitic monotheist child molesters over here. I'm a Viking. We brought them over here. Come on, we got prior land claims. Constitution, that ain't.
Police eventually escorted Christian from that protest. A photo taken by local photographer Doug Brown appeared to show him giving a Nazi salute on his way. So in this psychological evaluation submitted in November of 2017, months after the stabbings, a Seattle-based psychologist, Dr. Mark Cunningham, the one hired by Christian's lawyers, writes Christian deliberately espouses beliefs that he knows will disturb his audience, adding he relates to others by preaching to them, to educate them. This, he wrote, compensates for feelings of inadequacy and avoids the improvisation demands of reciprocal conversation. Christian is quoted as saying he chose not to participate in a society where he was marginalized. The evaluation goes into detail about Christian's time in prison. He was convicted for a 2002 armed robbery during which a Portland police officer shot at Christian, hitting him in the face. Christian spent much of his 8-year sentence, the evaluation notes, in solitary confinement. And during that time, Dr. Cunningham writes, Christian considered suicide. He's been arrested several more times since then. These are all the mugshots the Multnomah County Jail has on file. Regarding his personal life, the doctor noted Christian had never married or sustained a romantic relationship. He wrote Christian told him, I did not want to date. The doctor writes about a number of sort of conspiracy theories and bizarre beliefs that Christian described, including strong feelings against monotheism and circumcision. Then he wrote, notably absent from Mr. Christian's fervent espousal of beliefs and opinions was any semblance of assertions of white supremacy. Quite the contrary, the report reads. He asserted that persons holding beliefs that one group, race, religion, or political system is superior are the fundamental problem with fascism, communism, and monotheism, leading to intolerance, war, and genocide. Remember, this was written by a psychologist hired by Christian's defense attorneys. Prosecutors in this case also requested their own evaluation be carried out by a separate team of experts, but at this point, they're not disclosing whether that indeed happened. In fact, a rep for the DA's office told me, no comment.
They just try to calm him down, but they don't know each other.
On the day of the attack, Christian had been drinking and was buzzed. Dr. Cunningham wrote Christian boarded the Max to do his free speech thing, yelling, you don't like free speech? Move to Saudi Arabia and see how that works. Get your head cut off. Shortly after that, the report notes Christian dropped his bomb, announcing, you guys want to hear my plan for world peace? If you want world peace, all you have to do is get 1 billion Christians and 1 billion Muslims to kill each other. Then all the Jews will kill themselves because they will have no one left to manipulate. We should point out there is video of the stabbings that has yet to be released. Of course, witnesses told police in the moments leading up to the stabbings, Christian had aimed an angry, racist rant at 2 teen girls, both black, one wearing a hijab. In the report, Christian said he wasn't paying any particular attention to the girls. He did remember pushing one of the victims of the stabbings in the chest. Then he said the lone survivor of the attack, Micah Fletcher, grabbed him and pushed him down onto a seat multiple times, telling him to get off the train. The report says Christian thought he was about to be beaten up by several men and recalled this vulnerability as feeling like prison. The doctor writes Christian's account is in line with what's in that unreleased video. The end result of that confrontation, 2 men lost their lives. Their names are Ricky Best and Talisha Nomkai Meche. Micah Fletcher was gravely wounded, but survived.
And I mourn the loss of those 2 very brave individuals.
Since his arrest, Christian has had multiple outbursts in court.
I'm the victim. You're on video macing me. Liar. Liar. Liar.
Records show he's also caused problems in jail. He's been disciplined for fights, threats, and the use of a racial slur toward a deputy. The evaluation, commissioned by his lawyers, concludes with the assertion that Jeremy Christian exhibits symptoms implicating a number of psychological disorders. But it notes a formal diagnosis would take more time and work. If convicted of the charges tied to the Max stabbings, Jeremy Christian could face anywhere from 30 years to the rest of his life in prison.
Maggie Vespa joining us now, and I want to let people into the process here a little bit because the piece that you just aired, we have had ready for a while now, but you decided to air it tonight for a specific reason. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, 100%. So we knew that, the jury selection process, which has been going on for the past week, at the beginning involves hundreds of people, and then dozens are brought into the courtroom to be questioned, and obviously 12 are picked at the end. We know that those who are kind of in the selection process might not be as inclined, human nature, to sort of avoid the media blackout that they should during this process. So we thought, let's wait until the 12 are chosen. Hopefully they are sort of abiding by that rule, and then we can let people know what we know about Jeremy Christian.
We wanted to be responsible, and we did so. But we do know now that 12 people have been selected.
Right.
What do we know about this jury?
So we know a few details from their lives, like some jobs and that sort of thing, from the questions that were asked during jury selection, but we definitely don't know their names. And that's by design, because the attorneys and the judge in this case are referring to them by their juror numbers, which is like Mr. A12, Miss E15. And they're doing that to protect their anonymity. This is a high-profile case. It's a very emotional case for a lot of people. And again, with their anonymity being protected, we can't film them. We can't put them on TV. You will never see the jurors in this case being published because the judge has ordered us not to protect them and let them do their jobs.
I will say, I've covered a few trials before. I don't ever remember that method being used.
Right, so we're asking legal experts here in town, just attorneys with years of experience not connected to this case, to help us cover it. And a former prosecutor told me she had never encountered that in her entire career. She said it has happened that she's heard of nationally in just very high-profile cases. So it is done, but rare.
Maggie, thank you so much. Of course, Maggie's going to be starting with this trial when? Tomorrow? We get underway very early tomorrow morning.
Opening statements at 9 a.m. We'll be there. We'll be bringing you coverage throughout the day, on air and online.
And you'll see it right here on The Story. If you have questions for Maggie, you can reach out to her on Twitter or Facebook. You can also reach out to us here at The Story at #HeyDan. Maggie, thank you. All right, now let's take a minute and let's talk about the loss of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, arguably the biggest story of the day. And honestly, we talked for a long time this morning in our meeting when we were putting this show together about how we wanted to talk about it with you. Look, one of the key tenets on this new show here, The Story, is not to waste your time. And I think that us, trying to cover a story that NBC Nightly News just covered, I think a lot better than we ever could, well, that kind of feels like we'd be wasting your time. But I did want to pass something along. This is what a viewer named Mary sent in to us. She said, not that anyone gets these messages, but maybe it makes me feel better to say something. Kobe Bryant will be missed, and it is so sad about this crash. But there were other people on that flight, and they will be missed as well. There was a bit more, but I think you get the gist there. Mary, thank you. And as you can see, we do read those Facebook messages. And you are right. 7 other people died, along with Kobe and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna. 3 others actually related to a former U of O baseball player, J.J. Altobelli. His dad, John, died in this crash, along with John's wife and his daughter, Alyssa. Alyssa played basketball with Gigi Bryant. A woman named Sarah Chester, she died too. Her daughter, Peyton, was killed. She played on the team as well. An assistant coach named Christina Mauser died. And the pilot of that helicopter that crashed, Ara Zobayan, died too. The loss of each and every one of them is a monumental loss to their friends and to their family, of course. The loss of Kobe Bryant, though, kind of feels like it's drowning a little bit of that out because it is. You know, Kobe is a celebrity worldwide. And for the world at large, this tragedy will always be marked by his presence and his death. But his celebrity and the enormity of his loss absolutely does not cancel out the equally enormous tragedy of losing everybody else on board.
In an automated world, Oregon's kicking it old school. We've already got people pumping our gas for us. Next, humans might start checking us out at grocery stores again. I know, crazy, right? And a guy's walking around Damascus telling people he's with Amazon's address validation services. We know what you're thinking. It sounds like a scam, and that's what we thought too, until we made a phone call. And honestly, now, we don't know what to think when the story continues.
It was a blast to be here. I mean, I had so many memories here, and most of the time I ended up on the losing side of things, in the regular season. But so many great memories here with the fans and our playoff battles. And so, I just try to take it all in as much as possible.
Use self-checkout at the grocery store. I won't do it. I'm not good at it. I mess it up. I don't put stuff in the right bag. It's yelling at me the whole time. I have to call over a worker, and I'm thinking to myself, what's the point? I should have just waited in line and let a professional do it. But a lot of people use them, and a local group of union workers right now say that they're actually costing people jobs. They're being replaced by this technology. I posted about this on Facebook. A lot of people had opinions. I mean, I got like 50 comments within a few minutes, so I'd like to hear what you have to say. But this group, they want to stop grocery stores from having any more than 2 self-checkouts. That's it. The Oregon Supreme Court just gave them the go-ahead to try and get this on the ballot in November. It's not a sure thing. They still need to get a bunch of signatures first, more than 112,000. Speaking of the number 112, if you're part of the 112 people who move to this state every day, you might be thinking to yourself, does Oregon hate everything self-serve? You probably just learned that we're one of 2 states where you can't pump your own gas. Well, actually, you can in some places. We will say a few years ago, a new law let some people in rural counties pump the gas themselves. Long story short, though, some people freaked out about this idea and the internet kind of made fun of us. But so what? It's what we do here, all right? Everybody can get over it. Back to the self-checkout. What do you think about this? Do you like the idea of limiting how many of these are in stores? Do you think businesses and consumers should be the ones to figure this out, not lawmakers? Do you have any questions for lawmakers? Let me know on my Facebook page or use the hashtag HeyDan on Twitter.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Safino. It has been a wet day and it's going to be a very wet week. So we need to, I wouldn't say get used to it, but stay used to it because we're probably already used to it. It's been wet for a while. 46 degrees, still an east wind in Portland right now, but the rest of the region has a south wind. It's warming up and we've got some heavy rain right now from McMinnville over to Canby. That's going to be lifting north. So if you're going to be out and about in Portland, say the next half hour to an hour, the rain's going to come down even harder than it is right now. So it's already wet. It's going to be more wet as we go into the evening hours. Now offshore, there is more rain. It just keeps coming, as do the storms as we go through the rest of the week. It is going to be a pretty good soaker, which is what today already was. Over about a half an inch or so. And at 6:30, I'm going to talk about how much rain we've gotten this month and how it compares to past months too. So stick around for that. Look at Astoria is up to nearly an inch already, and it just keeps coming down. Here's the current system coming in. We've had a warm front moving on through. That's why it's so warm. It's not going to drop out of the upper 40s tonight. This cold front will go through in the overnight hours. Now, like last week, it's going to spawn a couple of thunderstorms. And like last week, it's similar to that system. Potential is there for some of those funnel clouds, so we'll keep a close eye on radar for you tomorrow. Looking ahead through the entire week, check this out. Rainfall totals over the next 7 days, another 2.5 inches in Portland, probably 4 or 5 inches over on the Oregon coast. So it is really going to be coming down hard at times through the next week. But if you like the warm aspect of this forecast, then you're going to like this part, especially on Friday, as I think we'll be up around 60 degrees. With any luck, the rain's going to push north for a little while. So we'll have some dry, warm weather once again, like we did on Saturday. Dan?
Thank you to Matt. Hey, do you remember this scene at the Oregon State Capitol? Empty desks inside, protesters protesting outside. This was during last year's Republican walkout over cap and trade. Well, that bill is coming back again this year. The governor talked about it and the importance of climate change today at Portland City Club. And then she said what kind of sounded like a message to Republicans.
It's our responsibility, and for those of us privileged to hold public office, literally our jobs, to stand up and be counted.
Last year, Republicans couldn't be counted. That's because they left the state, literally. I mean, they got on planes and left. To hold a vote on cap and trade, they couldn't do that. So now we're looking at cap and trade 2.0. And Republicans, well, will they leave again? We asked the Republicans, and they gave us a solid maybe.
It's a very fluid, dynamic situation. Nothing is off the table.
A poll this month of 750 likely voters in Oregon found that the majority of people oppose another walkout, like 60% or so. And even more support a ballot measure to remove lawmakers who are repeatedly absent. The session starts next week. We'll keep you posted on Cap and Trade 2.0, or 2-Cap 2-Trade, like we like to call it. If Republicans decide to walk out again, maybe we'll get Cap and Trade Tokyo Drift. Who knows?
If a complete stranger walked up to you, claimed they worked for Amazon, and asked when you're most likely to not be home, exactly how many red flags would that send up? Yeah, us too. Well, at least until we actually called Amazon and heard what's really going on in Damascus, when the story continues.
I know how to spot a scam, okay? I read stories on the news all the time, and I think to myself, who falls for that, really? I read one on Nextdoor about some guy going door to door, knocking, ringing, telling people, I work for Amazon Address Verification Services. Yeah, right, dude. We wanted to know what he was up to. Somebody said he was asking, when do you like packages dropped off? When are you home? When are you not home? Nice try. All right, I talked to Kristen Severance and realized, once again, I really don't know as much as I think I know. Tell us really what's going on here.
All right, look, to be fair, we all thought this was a scam. So we saw it on Nextdoor, and then we interviewed this homeowner, Mark Albrecht. He said he was in his driveway, and then he ran into this guy. The guy said he was wearing an Amazon shirt, and he said, I work for Amazon's address verification team. And he was asking him all these things like, okay, when are you home during the day? Do you like your packages dropped off in the front of your home, in the back of your home? And this homeowner was like, this is not real.
Red flags all over the place.
Right, this guy's casing my house or something.
Sure.
Like this is not real. And
he had a business card. Right. So he's got the Amazon shirt on. I'm thinking you could get that on Amazon.
Sure.
And then he's got a business card.
He has a business card. And so I called the number on the business card. It looks professional. And the woman answers, and she's very nice. And she said, no, this is real. You know, we have a small team of people. They go out and they do this. They do these quality control checks. They verify addresses. They, go to apartment complexes or homes. And they make sure, that packages are getting where they need to be.
Can I be a skeptic again, please?
Well, yes.
Because I'm thinking she's in on it, right? Of course. You got the number on the business card,
Right.
Call that, you have my partner answer the phone.
Right. So I told you this, I told everyone in the newsroom, and everyone was saying, no, she's in on the scam. So then I talked to Amazon corporate, and they said, Kristen, this is not a scam.
Unbelievable.
This is real. Corporate said, look, we have people that do this. They go and they make sure that the packages are getting where they need to be. And you know what? Those people wear Amazon shirts. They have Amazon business cards. And, people were just, they thought the questions were strange, which I totally understand. But now everyone knows this is a real job, and this is a real thing.
You got me. I'm wrong for once. All right, we got a real truth in advertising here in Portland coming up when the story continues. Weird is this brutally honest barber shop at Mall 205. You know what you're going to get here? You're just going to get clips. Not great, not good, just clips. If you're keeping Portland weird, prove it. Say, hey, Dan, on Twitter. Facebook, too, if you're into that sort of thing. I want to read you a quick comment here. Jeff Geisler writing in about the story, saying, I've been waiting for this for decades. Good idea. Then again, he sent that before we aired this first episode, so hope you're still on board. We'll see you tonight, tomorrow, whenever. You get it. The story. That's us.